The U.S. government has suspended visa processing for Somalians seeking to travel to the United States, part of a sweeping policy affecting over 75 countries worldwide. The move, announced in a memo from the State Department, means that visa applications from these countries will no longer be accepted or processed. This suspension affects countries including Russia, Somalia, Brazil, Afghanistan, and a host of others across Africa, Asia, Europe, and Latin America. The duration of the freeze remains unclear, but it comes amid heightened scrutiny of immigration and visa policies under the Trump administration. Just last week, a new travel rule was introduced requiring travelers from 19 countries applying for B1 and B2 visas to post bonds of up to $15,000. However, that policy is now likely overridden by the broader visa suspension, which also halts entry for students, workers, tourists, and even green card holders. U.S. officials cited high rates of visa overstays and concerns about security as reasons for the restrictions. The suspension is tied to the so-called public charge clause, which allows the government to deny visas to applicants considered likely to rely on taxpayer-funded welfare. New guidelines now require consular officers to evaluate age, health, financial standing, English proficiency, and potential reliance on public benefits. Somalia is receiving particular attention after a federal investigation in Minnesota uncovered a large-scale fraud scheme allegedly involving Somali nationals. While Somalia was not singled out for any specific incident, the suspension places thousands of prospective travelers in limbo, with no clear timeline for when the review will conclude or whether humanitarian exceptions will be allowed.
People that were not in the country, but we denied them re-entry. I can get you the exact numbers. I don't want to be misquoted because that's a rolling number, an average number. But look, this is not a punitive thing we're going out to try to make examples of it. Our visa system, okay, who you allow to visit your country should reflect the national interest. We said that from the very beginning. It was one of the directives that we got from the president. It's one of the things he ran on. And so our visa process basically is, now there are some times we'll deny people visas because of activities they've undertaken overseas. Other times it's people that have visas but are in the United States doing things that run counter to our national interest. And the law gives us the right, and in fact, I would argue the obligation to remove people like that from our country. And we're going to continue to do it. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, sometimes somebody comes in and says, oh, I want to come in as a student. They're here as a student, and then once they're here, they're involved in nefarious activity. We're going to remove them from the country. But maybe they're here as a researcher. Maybe they're here as, I don't want to say journalist because you guys will get upset, but it could be anything. These are visitors to the country. A visa is a visitor. It's not a right. By the way, we deny visas every day all over the world. People will go to an embassy, they'll sit for an interview, and the consular officer will deny them a visa because of something that came up in their record, because of something that came up in their interview, whatever it may be. So if you have the power to deny someone a visa before they get one, you most certainly have the power to revoke it once they get one and then do something they shouldn't be doing. So there's a variety of reasons why visas are denied, but all of them are because it implicates our national interest or national security in some way.
You began the briefing by talking about your confirmation hearing, and one of the core commitments or goals you set for yourself in that hearing was to rid the State Department of anti-Semitism and what the president calls DEI ideology. When you look back at the last year, have you done that, sir?
Have we done what? I'm sorry.
Rid the State Department of anti-Semitism and DEI ideology.
Well, look, I think there were actions that were being taken that we're very concerned about in terms of statements that were made from some missions around the world or actions that were taken. Ultimately, what the president asked for is a government based on merit, where people were being promoted up because of merit, irrespective of their background, their ethnicity, the color of their skin, the first language they spoke, where they were born. We want to promote people on the basis of merit. We have redone the whole process by which we do promotions in the career foreign service. We've redone it in a way that prioritizes the right things. There were people not being promoted in the State Department because even though they were exemplar foreign officers, their DEI score under the previous administration was too low. There were people that were because they weren't committed enough to the DEI cause. So we have very talented people that did not get promoted in the State Department because they did a great job, but they had a low DEI score. We got rid of that. That's not going to exist anymore. We are going to judge people on how good they are at the job that they do. And by the way, we're also opening to promoting people, not just based on seniority. We have some very talented, and I say junior officers, like 10 years, 15 years is considered junior around here. They're very talented. If we don't promote some of these people, we're going to lose them because there's a lot of money to be made in the private sector, and the people want to pursue in life. If people don't see upward mobility where they work, if they don't see the opportunity that by working hard and being successful, I'm going to be able to get ahead, they think they're reading roadblocks, they may leave and go work for another agency or outside of government. So we want to promote good people on the basis of merit. And I do think we have made changes. In fact, I just today approved a list of foreign service promotions for the president to submit to Congress, and it's on that new basis. So I'm really happy with that program. And look, we'll tinker with it, we'll improve it as time goes on, but we thought it was critically important that people be promoted on the basis of merit and skill, and not on all these other things, and certainly not on a DEI score. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Given that the Brown University and MIT shooter entered the U.S. with a diversity visa and Secretary Noem has since paused the program, is the State Department looking into considering pursuing permanent changes to the green card system, like changes to eligibility rules?
Well, I haven't had a chance to talk to her. I know they suspended that program because they want this. And the reason why you suspend this program is not because you argue everybody who came in under that visa is a bad person and is going to shoot a place up. It's because you want to determine whether there's something in the vetting of that program that's insufficient. Is there a systemic problem in how those decisions are made that needs to be addressed? So I think it's wise to suspend a program until you understand whether there's a deficiency in the program. So you just had a guy that came in through a certain route. You suspend the program to figure out whether something that came up in the interview process should have been a red flag but wasn't identified, so you can fix that before you restart the program. So I would imagine that's the process we're going to go through as well. Okay. Yes, sir.
Thanks, Mr. Secretary. Thanks for all your time here today. An issue I believe is close to your heart, Cuba. Is it the policy of the United States to seek regime change in Havana? And should we see the developments that are going on right now with Venezuela, the U.S. policies, as part of an effort to bring down the communist government?
Yeah,
and if I may briefly, do you stand by your statement earlier this year that nobody has died from U.S. aid cuts?
On your first point, I think it's not just the policy of this administration. I think every administration would love to see a different type of situation in Cuba. Cuba's a disaster. It's a disaster. It's not just because they're Marxists and because they're terrorists. They're incompetent. These are incompetent people, and they've destroyed that country. On the second point, I'm very proud of the changes we've made in foreign aid. Just yesterday, the day before, I think before the end of this year, going to enter into over 50 compacts, health compacts with different countries around the world. Understand the way this used to work. We used to go to a country and say, we're going to give you a bunch of money for your health care programs. And then we would go out and hire some NGO in Northern Virginia or whatever. They would take their 60% cut off the top for administrative aid. They would take another 20%. Before you knew it, just a portion of that money was even reaching these countries. In many cases, many of those countries, it is true. I heard somebody whisper that's not true. It is true. In many of these countries, the governments didn't even know how much money was being spent. We are now entering into government-to-government compacts with these governments.